What's going on, guys? Tempest here, and we are back for the next card of the week. We have the Opus 14 Gilgamesh. This is the Ice Legendary of the set, and I did do a little reading just so I make sure I have all the info right here. But let's go over the card, and then we can talk about what are maybe some of the better ways to go into this, and what my real thoughts are about it. If you have, so 3-drop Gilgamesh, FFBE, Winged 1, forward 7k. If you have 3 or more different elements among cards in the break zone, Gilgamesh gains 1000 power, haste, and first strike. And if you have 7 or more, Gilgamesh also gains brave and can attack 3 times in the same turn. When Gilgamesh attacks, choose one character. If you have 5 or more different element among cards in your break zone, dull it and freeze it. Okay, so before we go on, that was my dog. And we're going to go into a little bit of the things they say here. Rochelle lets us know that, playing multi-element cards are very useful, and somewhere in the lines of having an earth, sub-earth category into your deck lets you play cards like Shantojo and Kimari. But we know the rules of multi-element cards, they will count towards having the numbers on there. So, we could put 3 multi-elements of different colors, and that should hit us, get us to the 6. But in order for us to get a second effect, we will need a light or dark card in the break zone. My first thoughts are like the backup, the Emperor backup, or the Chaos. I believe you can break him, or I hope he's not remove him. I actually could be wrong about that. We play things that are like heavy targets, like Veritas is a good one. Neo Extat is probably a good one, which she goes on and mentions here as well. And she also mentions Citra is a good one because Citra can pitch light cards, so that is a good idea. The biggest gripes with this card is that you can easily counter it in a few ways. You have the Mist Dragon or anything that kind of removes. Kadaj is a big one too. Like if you see a Kadaj, if you're playing a deck that revolves around this guy or that kind of like leans into building around him, if your opponent drops a Kadaj early, it is going to be so difficult for you to get to what you want, unless you remove the Kadaj right away, obviously. But or like even a 5-drop Yuna or anything like that kind of just starts removing stuff. Like what's her name? The new Diana, I think, when she attacks, like start removing stuff. And so with removal, like RFG from the break zone is becoming more important and more popular. It's going to be hard to do stuff like this, but it's not to say it's impossible. Mist Dragon's the big culprit. Now, the other thing you have to think about too is if you are playing a deck around this, my opinion would be like an Ice Earth list, mainly because it obviously lives in Ice. Earth has one of the better options to play different colors. You could throw in a Cosmos or a Chaos in there as well. But if you're running a Mist Dragon and your opponent Mist Dragons you can always stop a Mist Dragon, right? Like that's the world we live in right now. Like who plays it first and who has it or who has extras. The other problem is he's weak to like Amaterasu too, which kind of sucks. Like if he was like an 8k and then got him to 9k, it would be a lot better, right? Because he'd be safe at least from that. But now he's like weak to 2 of the biggest cards in the game. When Gilgamesh attacks, that's his auto ability. So even if he has the everything, right? Even if you have all 7, it's just like he can die. He can die right here, and that's okay. And or like anything, right? Like if you counter him to the attack, then he just doesn't do anything anymore. But it's fine. Like he's if he gets off, sure. Like if you do it at least once, right? 3 attacks and then like, all right, let's go, then it's worth it. But at 8k power, even with like all the stuff, it's gonna be hard for him to attack more than once, really. Like most things are pretty big right now. They're like in the 9 to 10k range. Just look at monks, just look at BFAs and things like that. Like all the decks, I feel like the next thing we're moving to is like big forwards again with like crazy abilities and stuff. So he's just a little underpowered for my taste. But yeah, like again, going into what I was saying, if you're gonna build a deck around him, you're gonna need. I think it would probably be best Ice Earth, maybe Wind, right? Because the Wind Moogle generates. The Ice Moogle generates Wind colors, so you can play that alongside the Earth cards like Tyro, Shantoto, Kimari, Charlotta, which lets you generate anything for any CP of the color of a forward you control, right? So unfortunately in this deck too, like your backups aren't doing much because they're too busy generating colors. but at least you'll have the option. It's really going to be based around what your forwards can do, right? And he's kind of the whole thing. So if you're banking on him, then you need other stuff to make him better, like how to buff him. So battle tricks, things to plus 1,000, plus 2,000. The Tyro is an example too, right? Like at 5 damage, you can buff him by 2, so his he becomes a 10k with all of this stuff, and that makes him fun. But it's just little things like that that are going to make the card go above and beyond, and maybe even like competitive if we'd like to get there. Also, you can splash this easily into like a Warrior of Light deck. I don't know where Warrior of Lights are right now. I was playing them, Opus 12 a lot, and I would have liked to talk about more about that, but then Opus 13 came out, and then it was just like pointless because they didn't really do much, and they didn't get enough support to push them into this new meta. But he could have easily fit in a deck like that, right? Because you were playing five colors already, right? You had earth, water, wind, and light, and fire. And so, throwing in a multi-element in there, a few multi-element cards in there would have solved all of that. Because it already had all the recipes, all the colors for it, right? You would just needed to fit some ice and lightning in there, which wasn't a big deal. Because you could do that easily. The other idea I have for this is like a Vaughn deck, maybe. The 6-drop Vaughn that lets you like bring out 3 drops. He doesn't have any issues coming out, but that deck leans itself to having different colors as well. It is wind, fire, and maybe some lightning usually, so it's just really what else are you playing in there to kind of like fix that. Granted, the lightning Moogle generates water, I believe, and the wind one generates earth, so that kind of like, and fire generates water also. Is that right? No, fire generates ice, sorry. So that kind of leans you into the other colors as well. And going back to what I was saying about the ice earth one, the earth Moogle generates lightning. So either way, you'll have the color fixing in the back row, but it's just troublesome because your back row doesn't do anything after that. Like they'll search for him or they'll search for other pieces, but with the exception of Tyro, and if you play Shantoto on entry, like your backups won't do anything. So it's going to be required around like summons and monsters if you have them. So those are my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think. I think I've done this video a few times already, but it's whatever. I was hoping to have more for you this week. There was no new spoilers. We are in spoiler season, I think. We're like a month and like 3 weeks or so from the set. And like I was really hoping to see more stuff out there, something to talk about, but we haven't got anything yet. I am working on a video, something for new players and collectors, and then I am working on stuff. So hopefully next week will be a little bit better. But for now, this is all we have. So I will see you next week for sure for this and hopefully some other stuff. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you later.